All right, so how's everybody doing? It's Hank and Ricky back with another Two Birds and a Third short discussion. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. I mean, well, nothing's been really happening in the football world unless you're a Cowboys fan or
Unless you're a Cowboys fan and you have to worry about Jerry Jones. You have to worry about Jerry Jones paying that fine. But we all know that he'll give it to Roger Goodell or not.
yeah. So let's go ahead and discuss what we're talking about. So for those that are wondering, we will be discussing the Marcus Peters trade, why we think the combine is overrated, the quarterbacks, the more specifically the buzz about Lamar Jackson, and a couple other things here and there. So whenever you're ready.
So Marcus Peters, it's not surprising that the Chiefs are trading Marcus Peters because they just got Kyle Fuller from the Washington Redskins in that trade for Alex Smith. So was it the trade for Alex Smith? So they traded Alex Smith for like Marcus Peter or for Kyle Fuller and something else. And so it's not surprising that they probably have three cornerbacks that can play on the outside and there's an odd man out. And because Marcus Peters was responsible for throwing the referee's yellow penalty flag at a bunch of Jews at a Jets game. So that might piss some people off. But I really don't think that I'm not really surprised about the trade. I really am not. This is something that I've seen with the Andy Reid regime a few times. So, he's been stuck in the situation where he has three cornerbacks and he's not really sure what to do about them. Guys who can play on the outside. And the fact that he has kind of been like a mental head case with the team. He's kind of been a drama queen kind of guy, kind of person. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're wanting to get rid of them, and they did actually get rid of him. They sent him to the Rams, right?
They sent him to the Rams for, I think, 2 draft picks and a player, I think.
Wow.
But here's my thing. Yeah. I personally feel, Hank, that this was probably the best move by the Chiefs because I understand why people are saying that the Chiefs made a bad move because if you look at what Marcus Peters has done, I think he's overrated in some aspects of his game, but I feel like the Chiefs are like, look, this guy's value is high. Let's trade him now. Get some picks. Because that's what Andy Reid's, done. You said it yourself. I mean, he'll trade people that he deems either they have value or expendable. Yeah, and I think when you're in the position of the Chiefs, you pretty much you just got rid of Alex Smith, so you're kind of wondering what Patrick Mahomes is going to give you. And I don't know what the Chiefs' future holds, but I can say that this is probably the right move if you're going to rebuild that defense. I'm not saying that they're in a rebuild mode, but, get him some ammunition.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain perspective. I mean, we all remember when Andy Reid got rid of Donovan McNabb and traded him for a second-round draft pick. So I don't know. It wasn't Marcus Peters. He was a first-round draft pick, right?
Yes, I can check real quick.
So they probably try to give him a 5th-year option, and they might not feel like they want to give it to him. The Chiefs' defense this year was also really overrated. Everyone sees ever since Andy Reid got the Chiefs, they've always been a pretty good defense, but their defense just has not. Whether they haven't stepped up or they haven't, played up to their talent level. He probably feels like they need to make a change. And, the Chiefs are about to become an offensively minded football team, especially with Patrick Mahomes being their new quarterback. And they've got Tyreek Hill and they've got Kareem Hunt. So, I mean, it's a good trade both ways because the Rams are getting a good corner. Even though they already had some good corners, maybe they'll try to transition one of them to being a safety. But, the Chiefs get draft picks, and the Rams get a player. So, and you never really know how these trades go because trades they're pretty rare in the NFL. I was kind of talking to myself in the car earlier today, which I do sometimes, and I kind of thought to myself, NFL is like the number one sport in the, like the professional sport here in the United States, where you probably like throughout a whole year period, you probably get like 8 or 9 player trades. You don't really get a lot. When in all the other sports, you probably get 8 or 9 players getting traded per team every year. So it's a rare. I mean, in this offseason already, we've had 2 trades. Aaron Donald of the Rams is now in Miami. So, it's I think that this trade in particular is a good trade for both the Chiefs and the Rams. And I don't really see there being a real problem or an issue.
Yeah, you mean Robert Quinn, though, right?
Not Aaron Donald. Robert Quinn, my bad.
So I have the details of the
same thing.
But I have the details of the trade right here. So the Chiefs agreed to trade Peters and a 6th-round draft pick this year for LA's 4th-round draft pick this year and a 2nd-round pick in 2019. Now, this isn't a lot for the Rams if you get a good return on investment. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, a lot of people think it's dumb for the Rams to do this, but it's like if you look at what the Rams are trying to do, they're trying to be aggressive. They're trying to be like, hey, we have a team in place right now that we can win with because we have the offense to work with. All we need is to shore up the parts of the defense, and, hey, we're a Super Bowl contender. If you're looking at the Chiefs, they're trying to transition, like you said, from this defensive-minded team to a now run-heavy offense because of with Patrick Mahomes and what he can do.
Also pass heavy too, because what people don't understand is that he played in an offense. I mean, he's a guy who can run, but he played in an offense where he had to throw the ball like 50, 60 times in a game. One game he threw for like 700 yards. He had 800 total yards in that game, passing and running. So he's used to being the passing game and the running game. So they're really moving on from Alex Smith, who's kind of a game manager, to Patrick Mahomes, who's like a gunslinger. So, it's just how they're going to be. It's just how you manage the cap situation, and it's how you manage the money is how they're going to end up with whatever deal that they need to get to. Yeah. So I think it's a good deal for both sides. I mean, it's not one of those things where you're like, oh, this team swindled that team, like a Kevin Cobb for a DRC and a 2nd-round draft pick. It's not like one of those things. Yeah, but Andy Reid, he has been known to make some trades. He has been known to make some deals. I think that the Chiefs, I think this is in a sense addition by subtraction, because they're kind of losing a hothead. And what they just did was they gained a few draft picks to possibly get guys in the future. The only real issue with Andy Reid is that he is pretty good at evaluating talent on the offense. Especially that's how it was with Philadelphia. The Eagles usually hit on almost every offensive draft pick they got, but he is not very good at drafting defensive players. He is not good at that at all. So hopefully for the Chiefs' sake, they've got some scouts out there who know how to evaluate defensive talent, because he doesn't know how to do it. He can't do it. I don't think he really ever did it in Philadelphia. It was pretty good when it was like the first few years, but especially getting guys like Leo Shepard, Michael Lewis, Corey Simon. But later on down the line, when he was drafting guys like Daniel Teonesaim, Jack Ioka or something like that, it's just a bunch of names that are Casey Matthews. It's Nate Allen. There was a kid from Temple who he once drafted, and he tried to He tried to make a guy out of. It just didn't work. So he is much better at drafting offensive talent. And I think in his case, one of the things that they could do is, bring in free agents to play some of those defensive positions or try to trade for players for those defensive positions. But is that
speaking of anything to speaking of scouting, let's go to the combine. And I think, me personally, because we're going to talk about why it's overrated. Well, my personal opinion, it's like an overglorified exercise session.
It really is. I think that the only events that actually matter to me are the long jump, the high jump, probably bench pressing, because somebody on my Facebook comments told me that they played high school football and they knew when guys were hitting the bench and not hitting the bench by how hard they were able to hit them. And maybe some passing drills, I don't know, and route running drills, I'd say. But I would say that the one that everyone talks about the most, which is the 40-yard dash, is probably the most overrated event at the combine. I don't even think the combine should be televised. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think that it's weird because like you put a post on Facebook comparing Jerry Rice to what's his face?
John Ross.
yeah. It's like people need to realize that just because don't get me wrong, speed kills, but like a combine normally doesn't tell you much about a player. What you when you're in like the workout sessions and stuff, that's when normally a team really evaluates a player. So
yeah. And in many a sense, Jerry Rice had a slow 40-yard dash time, but the thing is, they'll say like, "Oh, this is his official time, but this is his unofficial time," and it's like sometimes you run a 40 at a certain time, and sometimes you run the 40 at like a different time, and it just doesn't really matter. I mean, Jerry Rice is a Hall of Famer and a 3-time Super Bowl winning wide receiver, a 4-time Super Bowl attending wide receiver. And John Ross is a guy who runs a 4.22 40 and he injures his legs. Like he injures his knees when he's done running. So, and the thing is, John Ross has played this season. I know it's just his rookie season. I try not to evaluate a player after their first season, but I'm pretty sure the guy had more fumbles than he did touches.
Yeah.
I mean, and I knew that when the Cincinnati and I'm saying this right now just because it's my opinion, but I knew that when the Cincinnati Bengals went out for him, I was like, dude, this is going to be so. You're drafting a relative slot receiver. You're drafting a possible return man. You're drafting just an outside decoy deep threat with the 9th overall pick in the draft when you can wait for another receiver. I felt like they were trying to replace what they had. They had Sanu. Didn't they have Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu on their team?
Yeah.
And they lost both of them, and then they tried to replace them. Which, by the way, if you try to build you look at these teams that have like amazing receivers, they like don't win Super Bowls. Like a masterful wide receiver is not something that's going to win you a Super Bowl. What's going to win you a Super Bowl is good offensive line, good defensive line, good quarterback, good running game, making no mistakes. It's way more important than having a receiver. I would rather have a receiver that can run routes and catch than have a receiver that's like really fast.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's perplexed me. Like a team like the Cowboys, you have a dominant run game and Ezekiel Elliott and that dominant O-line, which you can argue if it's dominant. So I still think it is.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, and like you have a solid quarterback in Dak Prescott, right? Yet you pay a guy like Dez Bryant $17 million a year. I'm not trying to knock on Dez, But it's just like
Yeah.
the logic of, we have an extremely powerful running game, yet we continue to pay a receiver that much money. It's unreal.
You have to really lean on your running game, especially late in the season, and that's something that the Dallas Cowboys really didn't do, especially in that Seahawks. And we hate to go off topic here, but that Seahawks game is a big one because you have a team that's shaky on defense, and you have a chance. And Ezekiel Elliott's getting like 4 or 5 yards a carry, but you lean too hard on your quarterback, who's already, his wide receivers aren't catching the ball, and he's losing confidence. It's just not a good fit. But
yeah, exactly.
When it does come to the combine, it's just like it's way too overhyped. There are players who get picked because they have a good combine, and it's like, no, and especially in the sense of you have guys who can run really fast. Those aren't always the guys that do well. To me, you cannot encapsulate the intangibles of football in a person's combine. And some of these guys don't even get invited to the combine. Like we all know, hooked on a feeling, Adam Thielen, he didn't even get invited to the combine, and he's like a number 2 wide receiver with the Minnesota Vikings. He had like over 1,000 receiving yards this season. So to me, the combine is just about one of the most overrated things I've ever. Everyone I know is like, did you watch the combine? Did you watch the combine? No, it's like the Pro Bowl. I can watch it. I can see highlight clips on Twitter.
Exactly. Okay? Like I don't care.
And while I think it's impressive that you have guys like Saquon Barkley, who just benching 1 million, just doing everything better than everyone else, that guy's obviously going to be the first overall pick. Okay, let me tell you this right now, and if DJ's watching this, if the Browns don't pick Saquon Barkley, if they trade back, they are the dumbest organization ever, okay? Because Saquon Barkley, from not his combine, I'm not even going by his combine, by what he's done in college.
Oh, he's a beast.
If that doesn't impress you enough to draft him first overall, then you are stupid.
Yeah, like as a Penn State fan, I implore you.
Hugh Jackson, okay? You might ruin Saquon Barkley's NFL career, but please draft Saquon Barkley. Like we do not need to laugh at the factory of sadness anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's no, what makes it even funnier is
just
like all the Giants fans are imploring that they get Saquon Barkley. They're like, please don't draft the number 1 overall. I'm saying, like, look, man.
Yeah.
Do not let the Giants get Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, don't let we do not need 2 Ezekiel Elliott's in this division. All right, so I'm going to answer a question. Where do you think Trey Burton goes? What do you think Trey Burton goes? Trey Burton was the Eagles', I guess, number 2/number 3 tight end. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns this season, 2 against the Rams, 1 against the Giants, and 1 against the Cardinals, I believe. And I think he had something along the lines of like 300, 400 yards. But Trey Burton is a guy, he can play tight end. He can play hybrid tight end receiver. He's a decent blocker. He can throw the football. We obviously saw that in the Super Bowl. But I think a guy like Trey Burton. I think a guy like Trey Burton is a guy who could possibly go to an Arizona or a Green Bay. A Green Bay might possibly need a tight end. Where do you think he could go?
I'm thinking he's probably going to go to Green Bay, most likely, considering Martellus Bennett I believe he left during that year. So I'm expecting Green Bay to be in the market for a tight end.
Yeah. Arizona. I don't know who Arizona's tight end is. I think Houston. They still have Fedorowicz or something like that. I think that Trey Burton is a better tight end. I think Trey Burton is a guy who the Philadelphia Eagles won't re-sign just because he's just going to be asking for starting tight end money. And we already have Zach Ertz, Zach Ertz was one of the best red zone tight end threats in the NFL this year. So
yeah, exactly, and he proved it in the Super Bowl too. I mean, and not only that, Trey Burton could probably try out for quarterback for Cleveland.
Yeah, for Cleveland. Cleveland, if you need a tight end, sign Trey Burton. He's better than he's better than the last 100 quarterbacks you've had in the last 20 years.
I mean, if I'm the Eagles, you just got to be careful because normally after winning a Super Bowl, that tends to where everything falls apart because like your free agents.
I'll say this right now. Winning the Super Bowl isn't the problem. Losing the Super Bowl is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing the Super Bowl, you lose the Super Bowl, you lose coaching candidates, and you lose free agents. And you have the number 31st pick. So it's like the insta loss. But
yeah, it's the worst.
But when it comes to the combine, I honestly, I don't think that it should be televised. I think it's a great place for scouts. Obviously, like if you look at intangibles of players in certain situations, but most of the drills are just useless unless you have drills where you're looking at how. I'd rather than do drills at focus on how players will do in certain situations. You know? Yeah. Like put five guys on the field. You know, I honestly think the Senior Bowl is a better representation of how a player is going to play than the actual combine is because they're getting coached up. I think this year Romeo Crennel was one of the coaches and somebody else. But I think that in the combine they need to put in like more situational play, put five guys on the field, put like a center, a tight end, a running back, two wide receivers against like a D lineman, two corners, a linebacker, and a safety. Mm-hmm. It's like flag football, honestly. But
yeah, still. Exactly. No, yeah, you want to see. I want to see like situational situations.
Yeah, well, but like I don't mind, but like the long jump and the high jump. And some of the quarterback drills and some of the route running drills, the bench press, I guess that's fine. But they end up doing that. They end up doing that at their pro day anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it doesn't matter. Like
and also like when they're like, oh, he had a great pro day. It's like, so did Johnny Manziel. Like they're all gonna have good pro days because they're all good at throwing the ball without any pressure in their. I could throw the ball like 25 yards without pressure in my face.
Exactly. Like I mean, personally, if I was a coach or if I was trying to be like, okay, look, I got some guys here. I need you to try and do some situational stuff because that's how you can measure someone.
Show me. You know what to like. On it, remember when they had John Gruden's quarterback thing?
That was great. Yeah, the quarterback.
We're like he has like the quarterbacks like at a whiteboard, and he's like, "All right, what do you do in this situation? Show me like the best play you ran in college." And like some of them were like, "Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing," and then like there were guys like, "Yeah, there, that's the play." And that obviously shows who is a better quarterback and who's not a better quarterback. Yeah, I just feel like I'll let you go on after this. I just feel like there are points in time where you have guys who are like extreme athletes and aren't able to do anything like in a coaching labbing type situation. They don't have any smarts, but then they get onto the field with a real team and they're not able to do anything. It's like the difference between a Jamarcus Russell and a Case Keenum. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
Who had a better career, Jamarcus Russell or Case Keenum? Case Keenum was an undrafted free agent quarterback who had an illustrious career with Houston, and Jamarcus Russell is the biggest draft bust in NFL history.
Yeah, and I just want to say this right now before we get into the quarterbacks. It's like I remember, I believe, when they were trying to, they were talking. I think it was Steve Mariucci. He was doing an interview with who was it, Goff and Wentz before the draft, and like he would basically talk to them about like plays and stuff, and then like he would tell them, okay, draw it on the board, what I just told you, and like situational stuff, because that's how you measure someone, because you're going to measure someone off of their intangibles and how well they can memorize a play and all that other stuff. But anyhow,
the NFL Combine means as much as the Wonderlic test.
Exactly.
Honestly.
So
you can get like
No, sorry. No. We're gonna move on, but say what you were gonna say.
Oh, I was about to say that like you get a 29 on the Wonderlic and be an amazing quarterback. Just ask Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly. didn't like Ryan Leaf get like a good score on the Wonderlic?
I don't know. I do know Vince Young got a very low score on the Wonderlic. He got like a 2 or something like that. But that's why he went back to college.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, so we're gonna talk about the quarterbacks of this draft class upcoming. So what I did was I pulled up on my one monitor basically the NFL draft tracker. They give player comparisons, and some of this stuff's blasphemous. Like they compared for example, they compared what's his face, Saquon Barkley to Barry Sanders. I'm like, what the what? Like, no, he's Saquon Barkley.
Maybe they might be judging it on like Saquon Barkley will have like a 10-year career or something like that.
Yeah.
Hold on, I think the guy's here. So just keep talking.
All right. So as Hank leaves us, so I'm going to explain what I'm talking about as I'm going to share screens real quick if I can. I don't think I can, but let me see. There we go.
Yeah, it's a friendly guy. Yeah, a little too friendly.
Pay no attention to Hank. Let me mute him real quick. Okay, so as you can see, guys, let me go ahead and pull this up on the screen. So as you can see, let's see. Now, what's going to happen is like you can pull up a player like Sam Darnold, for example. It basically gives you his whole brief synopsis, and then it'll give him a player comparison and, and basically a draft projection. Now, what me and Hank are going to be doing once he arrives back is that we're basically going to be talking about each of the major quarterbacks and basically what we feel about them. And, the first one we're going to, of course, be talking about is Sam Darnold. And for those that don't know me, I personally do not like Sam Darnold. I think he's kind of overrated in the sense of, like, you never trust a USC quarterback. I'll give you another example. Pull up Baker Mayfield, one of the better quarterbacks. And I'm not saying just because they're good means they're going to be 100% amazing. They're comparing him to Doug Flutie because of his size. So it's just some of the stupidest stuff, that I've seen with and I get what Hank was saying, like, maybe he's going to have a 10-year career, or he's just going to have like a, just a projection. So let me go ahead and let me turn this off. Hopefully my camera comes back on. There we go. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, so basically our whole thing with the draft and stuff like that, I think the combine's overrated. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask right now in regards to the quarterbacks or, anything in regards to what's been going on. Feel free to. So as we await Hank's arrival to return. Okay. As Hank will be arriving soon. at some point. Yeah, he just gave me a gesture, so. Silence. So. Nope. As the long-awaited arrival of Hank returns.
All right, I have returned. What were you talking about?
Okay, so basically, I was going to explain to them what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be talking about the main quarterbacks of the draft class, and I want to hear what you have to say about the NFL comparison. Like, who do you think they are comparable to, or like what do you how do you think they're going to project, and stuff like that. So to start things off, Sam Darnold out of USC. So I guess to kind of understand what we're going to be doing. So me personally, I think he's overrated. The dude, I think he's a sophomore. And I think that he's way too raw as a prospect to be jumping into the NFL right now. So
I kind of agree that he will be the biggest. He will be the biggest project. He had a really good season in 2016, but then last season, he had a good year. USC had a good year, but he looked very erratic, was his only issue. He looked a little too erratic for my taste. And for the life of me, I have no idea how he is being considered to be the best quarterback in the draft.
Okay, so here's my question. So take a guess. Who do you think that they're comparing him to?
I would say they're comparing him to Phillip Rivers.
They say Andrew Luck in this.
Wow. Yeah. Wouldn't have guessed that.
He says the bottom line, at the end of the day, Darnold has NFL size, strength, accuracy, pocket mobility, poise, and field reading. Basically, they're just kissing his rear end, saying that he's like a solid starter.
I mean, he has those things. He just doesn't have poise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like that he just I think he just needs a little
He doesn't have poise, and he doesn't have confidence. Or maybe he has too much confidence.
Yeah.
Because he threw a lot of interceptions last season. A lot more than you would expect a guy coming in and, competing for a Heisman Trophy would.
Okay. So here's the next one. Josh Rosen out of UCLA. So me personally, I think this guy, he's solid, but I don't think that he's
I think he has the arm strength. He definitely has the talent. It's just whether I think he'll be a project in the sense of, him being able to find reads. I think his worst game was against Memphis. Do you remember that game? He threw a few interceptions. But I think that he's definitely not the number one guy that you would pick, but he's probably the number two best guy out of all of them.
Yeah, I would say Josh Rosen is there is no clear-cut guy that you could just put in and start immediately in this draft, in my opinion.
But I think he would be the first one.
Yeah.
Even though he probably doesn't have the best ceiling, he's probably the guy who you would put in because he really is the only guy who ran a pro-style offense in college, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So, who do you think they're comparing him to?
Eli Manning.
No, they said Trent Green.
What? How tall is he?
I think he's 6'4". Yeah, he's 6'4", 226 pounds.
Trent Green wasn't 6'4".
I don't know. I don't know where they're getting these. I think it's funny just listening to who they're comparing him to. But yeah, I think that he has some stuff to work on. But I think he can definitely be a solid starter. So next one, the only Baker Mayfield. I think he's the best prospect in terms of talent.
He's the best. He's the best prospect in terms of talent. Kelly wouldn't admit it because she hates Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield. But
okay. Yeah, so a lot of people are knocking him because of how short he is. But like, I don't think that matters.
Height doesn't really matter when you have Russell Wilson. He was successful. He's short. Drew Brees. He was successful. He's short. Michael Vick is relatively short. He was relatively successful. Height doesn't really matter. Just like the tallest quarterback in the NFL, Mike Glennon. He's about 6'8", and he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Exactly.
So height doesn't really matter.
So they're comparing him. Take a guess.
Johnny Manziel.
No.
Russell Wilson.
Doug Flutie.
Okay. What? Okay. Well, Doug. How old? How tall is Baker Mayfield?
6'1". They're saying he's 6'1".
Wasn't Doug Flutie 5'7"?
I thought Doug Flutie was 5'10", 5'8", 5'11".
No. No. Does it say that there? Doug Flutie?
Let me see. Doug Flutie's 5'10".
It's 5. No.
Yes,
who's saying this?
Wikipedia.
Never trust Wikipedia. Okay. I'm 0 for 3. So, what's the next guy?
Okay, the next one, Josh Allen, who is we're gonna get to Lamar Jackson at the end because we're gonna talk about his whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, who I think is Jake Locker 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So he's out of Wyoming. I think that he's gonna be like, again, I kid you not, like he's legit like Jake Locker. Like I can like if you could describe Jake Locker, that's literally what he is.
Yeah. Well, he just seems to be the prototypical guy. Just seems to be like generic average Joe kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Who can throw on his knees. So can Michael Vick. That's not really that impressive to me.
Who do you think they're comparing him
to? Jake Locker.
Yeah, I even just saw that.
Jake Locker.
Yeah, I legit even just saw it. But they're saying he's the biggest boom or bust pick, which I agree with. I think he is. But yeah.
Yeah, especially because he didn't play Power 5 conference football.
Yeah. So
but I think he'll just be average, you know.
Yeah, he's gonna.
He could be career backup journeyman type of guy.
Jake Locker.
Jake Locker. Well, everyone thought that Jake Locker was going to be really good.
I don't. But Mason. Okay, now there's two like wild cards in this draft. Mason Rudolph out of Oklahoma State and Luke Falk out of Washington State. I don't know a lot about.
I saw both. I saw both of them play. Mason Rudolph, he played well for Oklahoma State. But the issue is you have trouble judging Big 12 quarterbacks because, you know, they don't necessarily play against amazing defenses because the big draw of that conference is just offense. He definitely played well in college. He is coming off of an injury, but I think that a guy like Mason Rudolph is comparable to a guy like Kirk Cousins.
Really?
And as for Luke Falk out of Washington State, you know, it's kind of like the same thing in a sense of the Pac-12 is not really known for defenses. It's known for offenses, and he played really well. He did get injured, I believe, and his backup, unfortunately, passed away at Washington State. But I would kind of compare him. I didn't see as much of him, so I don't really know who to compare him to.
So they're comparing Mason Rudolph to Christian Ponder.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And then Luke Falk. They're comparing him to Mike Glennon, which that's kind of weird.
I didn't know Falk was that tall.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not thinking about. I'm not thinking this through as much as Wikipedia is.
Yeah, it's whatever. But anywho, Lamar Jackson, that is going to be our final topic. We're talking about this guy out of Louisville, a Heisman winner. He's literally the second coming of Michael Vick. They're even comparing him to him, so we're not even going to get into that. Like,
I thought what's his name from Deshaun Watson was like the next coming of Michael Vick.
No, I always thought Deshaun Watson was the next coming of McNabb.
Or Byron Leftwich.
Or Brian Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson, people are saying he's going to be the biggest project. I think he might be like a 1 to 2 year project. To me, it's Sam Darnold who is the biggest project.
Yes.
But they're saying that Lamar Jackson might end up becoming a wide receiver, which, no matter, you look at that and you're like, well, could it be because of, his race or whatever? But I look at it as, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. He has a good arm. He has great speed and he's got great mobility. But the question is, will he be able? He will be the biggest transition from college to the NFL.
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, Lamar Jackson, I think he has the tools to be a successful guy. It's just a matter of where he goes, and that's the key part. Is like if he goes to a team where he needs to be a pocket passer, he's not going to work out. He needs to be a guy. Yeah. It has to be a system where he can run. So something like that can cater to his play style. I'm trying to think of a couple places. I would say, let's see. I don't want to say Cleveland because Cleveland, no. I don't know.
I could see him. I could see. Well, it's just the question. Like nobody really runs that system. You kind of have to pick it up. You could possibly see a team like the Arizona Cardinals pick him up. You possibly see a team like Minnesota. Minnesota maybe pick him up if they don't get Kirk Cousins. The sky's the limit. You don't know.
Yeah, I think that, look, at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson, people that say they need to turn him into a wide receiver, I think you shouldn't need to do that because I feel like he has the tool set to become a good quarterback. The problem
but at the same time, it's whether a team is going to take a chance on him.
Exactly. That's my thing.
Because he will be the biggest project between college and the NFL.
That's what's probably going to make him drop, because if he had the intangibles of being a better passer, I'm not saying he sucks at passing, but like if he had those like secured intangibles, he would be probably the best quarterback in the draft. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, did we got anything else to talk about?
No, I think that's it. And awesome. I think that the biggest thing to understand with what's going on in the NFL right now, it's all just going to be draft stuff. And I feel like being an Eagles fan, the offseason was like cut short.
Yeah,
you just don't care.
Yeah, it's like for me, like for every team, normally it's the most important thing. But
yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, so
all right, man. So that's it. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, except it's like not the end of the day. Maybe for some people it's the end of the day.
It's the end of the afternoon. It's going into evening.
Not here.
Shut up.
All right. So we'll probably be back with the weekly one this week. We didn't do it this last week because the way I really want to do it is, have one of these things every like twice a month or something like that, because not a lot of stuff is going on.
Yeah, because like we could do it, because it's like there's not a lot yet, like you said. So
yeah. All right, everybody, remember, don't eat a Tide Pod and don't die.
Yeah, don't die.
Peace,
right,
everybody.
peace, guys.